As most of you know, the Unity Church of Dallas is a safe haven in which we have provided for people to grow spiritually and personally. Now, the month of February, the general theme is your church and relationships. It is under the gentle heading of a gentle approach to a difficult journey. And today's lesson is titled, You Have Touched Me, and I Have Grown. But let us see how our church has helped many, many people to learn, to grow, and to change. Well, first of all, what is the church? Who is the church? Well, the true meaning of the word church is called out ones, and that means you and me. You see, you and me, we are the church together. What do we teach? We teach the true consciousness of Jesus Christ. The Bible is our text. We teach love. For God is love, unconditional love. Love with no strings attached. That's why the Unity Church of Dallas is a safe and non-judgmental haven for all who are seeking to grow spiritually and personally. In our services, in our classes, in our teaching, you will never find any criticism, any condemnation, regardless of who you are or what you think you may have done wrong. We teach everyone as Jesus taught, is to look through the appearance and behold the Christ, the beautiful Christ nature that's within every one of us. Yes, we do provide a safe haven for those that are growing spiritually and personally. We have probably the finest children's church that there is. And the children love to come here on Sunday morning to their Sunday church school. Most would not miss it if they could help it. You see, we teach love. We teach that God is total love. We teach that God is unconditional love, and that everyone is loved by God unconditionally. The children learn to love God. They learn to love the Christ, and they learn to love each other. They, as well as the teachers, work together to create this safe haven in which these children can come and enjoy life and learn more about how wonderful they are and learn how to express this beauty and this presence of God that is within themselves. They are learning to grow and to change. A very few weeks ago, the singles started a class, and it meets at 9:15 in the fellowship hall, as most of you know. But it has grown to almost 250 people on a Sunday. You see, people are beginning to feel and experience a safe haven here, where they can come and be filled, where they can come and for inspiring talks, to mingle with people of like minds, people who begin to understand that they are the expression of unconditional love of God. In our adult classes, we teach the spiritual principles for effective living. And together we are creating that safe haven in which to learn. All of our studies include prayer, meditation, affirmations, denials, and many, many other things, because these are all of the tools that Jesus gave us in which to learn and grow in a safe haven. There's that wonderful story that I love about affirmations. And it seems that this lady of the house had a housekeeper, and she was very negative all of the time. Nothing went right. She never felt good, and she was always complaining about something. Well, the lady of the house was going to go on a trip to Europe, and she was going to be gone for a couple of months. So she sat down her housekeeper and she said, now I'm going to give you an affirmation, and I want you to read it every day and to work with it every day. And the affirmation went something like this: I'm a perfect child of God, and God's presence heals me, and I can feel this beautiful presence working in and through me on every level, healing me completely, so on and so forth. It was quite an extensive affirmation. Well, the lady of the house finally got the housekeeper to give her solemn promise that she would use this every day. And so the lady went on her trip. In a couple months, she came back and went to the housekeeper, and she said, well, how are you? Housekeeper says, marvelous. Gosh, I just feel wonderful. Everything is great, and everything is going great. And this really perked up the lady of the house, and she said, well, I guess it was that affirmation I gave you, wasn't it? Well, no. She said, I mislaid the affirmation, and I couldn't remember what it said, and I couldn't find it. So every morning I just got up and looked in the mirror and said, oh, hell, I'm well. Well, she got the idea, didn't she? In your bulletin this morning, of course, you will find this, and you don't have to get it now, Creative Life Center News. As you know, we have this Creative Life Center, and it's located particularly across the parking lot in the White House. And if you'll go through this at your convenience, you'll see that there are many classes, many ways in which we are creating a safe haven for people to come and to learn. And on the back, you'll find many different groups that meet here because it is a safe haven in which they can express. And one of the things I want to point out to you is that just a few weeks ago, I think it was about 4 weeks ago, we started a class called a grief class, headed by Pam Norris. And it immediately filled up to twice the optimum capacity. Immediately. See, people are learning that this is a place where they can come with non-judgmental atmosphere. People are not judging them, people are not criticizing, because they're working through a grief process. And they're learning how to do that with love, with other people. And this is just not grief due to the loss of a loved one. It could be through the loss of a job, through a divorce. There are many, many, many ways in which we have losses and which we go through grief. And in fact, the class is called Good Grief. And that's what we're trying to promote, is that there is a process and there is good at the end of the tunnel as we walk out of it into the light of God. Yes, we have this safe haven that you, the church, are creating. And you have touched me, and I have grown. You touch me every time I teach a class. You touch me every time I'm in counseling with someone. You touch me when I perform a wedding ceremony. You touch me when I do a funeral or memorial service. You see, you touch me, and I have grown. There are many ways that we touch the lives of others. Physical touching is healing. Reverend Ralph Lebketcher, who of course is not here this morning, but when he was chaplain in a mental hospital, he used to go make his rounds, and he would be sure to touch the arm or the shoulder of the patients. And they began to really respond to this, because it was saying, without him saying it, is, I recognize you as a wonderful child of God. I appreciate you I love you. And I look through the appearance of whatever it is you're working on, and I behold the Christ in you. Friends, this is healing. It's a healing way to allow yourself to be letting the love of God flow through from you to someone else. As you know, this is the Valentine season. And if you haven't noticed it from the narthex, then you better get your eyes checked this morning. It's the season of love. And I want to read to you what the Bible says about love. Now, this is not the traditional chapter in Corinthians, but it's very important in our lesson this morning. It comes from 1 John, the 4th chapter, the 7th through the 13th verses. And this is what it says. My beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God. And everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. He who does not love does not know God, for God is love. By this was the love of God toward us made known, for God sent his only begotten Son into the world that we might live through him. Herein is love, not that we love God, but that God loved us. My beloved, if God so loved us, we ought also to love one another. No man has seen God at any time, but if we love one another, God abides in us, and his love is perfected in us. Hereby we know that we abide in him, and he in us, because he has given us the Spirit of love. They're talking about you and me. At the time of creation, you were infilled with God's limitless love, and you got it right this very moment. I didn't say you recognize it. I didn't say you use it. I said you have it. And we're going to find out how we can use it to everyone's benefit. There are many ways of defining love, of thinking in terms of love. And here are a few of them, and you may find one or two or three that really you identify with. Love is the quality that sees good in all things and in all people. Love is letting go of fear. Love is my absolute respect for another's freedom of choice. Love is what you have been through with somebody. That probably gets us all. Love is the great harmonizer and healer. Love is the fulfillment of the law. Love is God. Love refuses to see anything but good in every person, every situation. Love asks for nothing, but gives everything. Perfect love perceives people not as problems, but as wonderful possibilities. Love without faith is impossible, and faith without love is unacceptable. Believe the best about all people. And if you are wrong, you have only made the mistake on the side of love. God's love is the magnetic glue that holds the universe together. Love is God expressing himself. Well, how much love can you and I express? Let me tell you some things about love that may shock some of you. Perhaps the biggest shock of all is this truth, that you and I personally have no love of our own. But we do have God's unlimited supply of love within us right this very moment. You have it, I have it. Unlimited supply of God's love. And God has given you and I the ability and power to express or press out whatever amount of love that we choose. And sometimes I know you and I have been in that state where we have chosen to give no love at all. However, there are many times when we feel this filling up of God's love within us, and we just have to express it out. Express total love. Sometimes we hear ourselves saying to ourselves, well, I sure wish I could be more loving like my friend over here. The truth is that you and I as human beings cannot give what we do not have personally. However, you and I can make the conscious decision to express more of God's love that's within us. You see, God's love is the only love that you and I have. Think about that. Now, this is the point that wrecks most of our lives, and it is this. You and I often look to a person to give us personal love. And this is the fatal error, because there is not a person that has any of their own personal love to give. The only love that you and I have is the unlimited supply of love of God. Love is God. God is love. When we look to a person to love us, often we find in place of love resentment, and sometimes we even find hate. This is what I call the dark side of love. The error then is not in the other persons. The error is not on the part of those who seemingly withhold love from us. The error is on our part in expecting personal love from a person, or in our condemning him or her for withholding it. Love comes from only one source, dear friends. Love is God. Love comes from God. And that love is within you and me right this very moment. Right now. You may choose to cut yourself off from it, but it's there. It's there. The moment that you and I turn our thought from the idea that a person can give or withhold love, personal love, we will find God's love pouring out to us in infinite abundance. However, it does not always come from those that we might expect it to come from. If we are not receiving enough love in the world, let us stop looking to people and let us begin to look to God for the love that is within everyone, and it's wonderful. This is one of the things that you and I must learn, that it is not up to us to determine from what direction love is to come. It must come from God, and it can come from any source, through any person. Let me give you an example of what I mean. You see, I have a very special love for my wife, Abby, and she has a very special love for me. We both understand and recognize that this is the love of God that is flowing between us. And we have this exquisite privilege of letting the love of God flow in human form between us. Think about that. God has given you and me that wonderful, exquisite privilege of expressing his love in human terms, in human form. Abby and I think it's a wonderful experience. And there are so many wonderful, exciting human ways in which we can express this unlimited love of God. You and I have and are a part of this unconditional, unlimited love of God. And God has given you and I the choice, and he's given us the power to express this perfect love in so many wonderful, beautiful, human, loving ways. And I don't know about you, but I sure do thank God for this privilege. It's a wonderful privilege. I asked one of our wonderful Unity friends to write me a poem on love, specifically on God's unconditional love, specifically for this lesson today. Her name is Cecilia Ulibarri, and here is her poem. It's just titled, Love. I found a habit I wish to share with you. It was a secret about dreams that do come true, put there especially for me, for you, for you. I found a habit, the secret's inside of me, that love brings happiness when I truly learn to be. What is the secret, I hear you ask me? It is a feeling you express. It is intimate. Bringing happiness, it is inner wisdom. It is the key. It is another name for God. It is in you and me. What do? I hear you exclaim. Stop and listen. He is calling your name. Close your eyes gently and repeat after me. I am love. Its truth sets you free. It is a habit, the secret to be, to say, I am love. The world can hear thee. So on this special day of love, when God speaks to thee, shout to the world, I am love. For this is a habit of true bliss you will be. Cecilia, would you stand up? Thank you so much for this lovely poem. If you like that poem, it is, of course, a part of this service. It is on cassette tape, which you can get at the bookstore immediately following this service. And if you like the poem, Cecilia has her own book of poems, which she has written, which she has published herself, and they're also in the bookstore. And they're really great. There's some really good stuff in there. Now I want to take the rest of this morning's service, and I want us to feel God's love. So just relax, sit back and be comfortable. And I'm going to allow myself to be the open channel for God's love to flow through. It's nothing I am doing, I'm just going to be, as Cecilia said in her poem. And I want you might want to gently close your eyes, just want you to feel God's love as it flows out from the center of my being and fills this room. Remember, it's not my love, it's God's love. But I've got this exquisite pleasure right now of being an open channel. Just be. Don't try to force a feeling of anything. Just let God's love that's swirling around you right now, it's blessing you, it's loving you, it's infilling you with peace, serenity, beauty, and this exquisite presence of love. This love of God doesn't care what you may think you have done wrong. It's just loving you, that spiritual being that you are right now. You are made in the image and likeness of God. Just allow yourself to feel, to experience. Just quietly right now. Now I want each of you to be the channel. Just let yourself be. Let that love that is in you, that's God's love. You don't have any personally, so don't worry about that. But you've got a room full of love, of God's love. And God loves to be expressed. So if you are finding any barriers right now within yourself, just dissolve it and release it. Let it go. If you need it later, you can pick it up on your way out. But just let God love through you. Love the person you're sitting next to. Perhaps a loved one, a relative, a friend. And if you really want to go the second mile, let that love of God encircle a person that you like the least. Quietly allow yourself to be that perfect love of God. And say to yourself, as Cecilia's poem said to us, I am love, and you are. I can feel it. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's an exciting feeling to feel God's love just permeating throughout this whole room, coming from you, through you. I can feel my hands tingle right now because this energy is so beautiful, wonderful, healing. Let it heal you as it flows out from you. Okay, you can come back now. Thank each one of you for being such an important part of this service, because it was through you that the love of God is flowing. And you have allowed yourself this exquisite experience of letting yourself be loved. And try to make your life a safe haven for everyone that comes into your experience. Let people feel the love of God flowing through you in a very human way, peacefully, calmly, with serenity and beauty. I am love. You, dear friends, are love. And remember, you have touched me, and I sure have grown. Thank you, and God bless you all.